So my name is Muna Jundi. I'm from Flint, Michigan, born and raised, and I am currently involved with an organization called the Free Syria Fund, which is C4 lobbying for Syria. To be honest with you, what we had done over the course of 6 years is we began with advocacy in a 501c3 sense about 6 years ago. And then I think that when we began realizing that this is more of a marathon than a sprint, then we realized as a Syrian American community that we needed to get the advocacy machinery a little bit more sophisticated. And so then we, expanded to C4, we have a PAC, and so my focus right now is trying to help the Free Syria Fund get off of its feet. We work on legislation, lobbying for particular issues related to Syria, specifically the Caesar legislation that passed last Congress, also passed this Congress unanimously. We're trying to work it into the Senate, sanctions against Russia and Iran regarding their interference in Syria. That's kind of our focus right now. Oftentimes people tell us that there are, that legislation is symbolic when it comes to foreign policy, because really it is the purview of the executive branch to decide how we're going to act. Other than really funding and budget, it's really about the executive branch. However, we believe that Congress has, being the same party as the current president, definitely has an important role to play. And so it's more than just symbolic. It's about informing and educating not just members of Congress, but helping those members of Congress to then relay our message to the executive branch. And so the Caesar legislation, really is an accountability. It calls for sanctions and accountability for Assad's war crimes, as well as a feasibility study for a no-fly zone. I mean, those are the three main elements of the Caesar legislation, and it passed unanimously. So the community got involved, I think, in the political arena pretty quickly, but it was a very small sort of sliver of the community. And part of it really is just the nature of the Syrian Americans and where they come from. So, I'm American born. For me, it was much easier. I was, already involved. I did my first door-to-door knocking campaign when I was 18 years old. I've been involved in different sort of, referendum initiatives in statewide, ballot initiatives in Michigan. So for me, it was a little bit more natural. But honestly, a lot of Syrian Americans are absolutely, have no experience with political organizing. They were never allowed to. And so it's taken a little bit of time, I think, for the community to get involved. Some people were already politically engaged, but really as a community as a whole, I think that it's taken 2 or 3 years. And really the biggest way that this happened was, I think, the ultimate recognition that, the decision on how to help in Syria is going to be made here in the U.S. And there is no other Syrian diaspora community that is going to be able to do this work. Everybody else can work on the humanitarian, and it doesn't mean that Syrian Americans can't as well, but we have the primary responsibility to try to work in the advocacy arena. I would like them to reach out and to try to meet a Muslim. And I know that sounds so cliche, but I feel like it's just the way that the political correctness, the way that it's set up is that even at work and even in our neighborhoods, we actually don't get a chance to have meaningful interaction with our colleagues and with our neighbors in a way that they actually really get to know us unless, we get together on a social level. So I feel like to me, the first step is breaching the barrier of the unknown. So meet a Muslim. If that means getting out of your comfort zone, contacting, the local community. Most Islamic centers have interfaith events regularly. Take a friend. If you're not very comfortable yourself, take a friend. To me, that's sort of the first step. Secondly, we're not a monolithic group. So I can't say, as an American Muslim, I speak for American Muslims. I can't speak for anybody but myself, and I imagine there are other Muslims who think like me, but I don't represent everybody. So, understand that you got to sort of take us as you do everybody else based on the way that we are and the principles that we espouse as individuals.